Woo, this is it. Day one of my Maui adventure. I'm 47 and I think I've wanted to go to Maui since I was about 13. 34 years. I've got the Maui Glory Days book. I have my bag almost packed. There's crap everywhere, so that's not going so well. And the house is pretty clean, so I'll be coming back to a nice fresh house. But I better get packing. Not a bad day to leave Geraldton. It's raining. Well, I am all done. I have cleaned the house, everything's organised. I'm packed, I have my passport. I am now driving to Perth, 450 kilometres. I sleep in the van. First thing in the morning, catch a flight to Sydney, 4-hour flight, visit family there, I'll stay the night. Next day, catch a flight to Maui, and I'll be there. My God, it's happening. So weird, a week ago, I wasn't going, and all of a sudden, it's all happening. I've hardly made it out of Geraldton, but I've got to stop and pay homage to the leaning tree. This tree is growing like this because of the southerly winds or the southwesters in Geraldton. It's just stopped it from growing upright. So it's literally had this massive kick in it. Now it's just growing along the ground. It's pretty cool. It's a beautiful sunset tonight as well. We're doing it, folks. We're off to Maui. Yes, I'm on my way to Perth, and I was just reflecting on how it came to be that, you know, I'm on my way to Maui, and I thought it was just a quick, interesting story, and maybe for some of you it might be helpful or you can relate to this sort of thing. But before all this whole windsurfing YouTube thing for me, I mean, I've been in love with windsurfing since I was a teenager. But you know, from 30 to 40, I was involved in a small business. I started importing this brand called Gazelle. It was a Dutch bicycle brand. I was over in the Netherlands back in 2007, and my grandmother, Oma, she passed away. I went over there to pay my respects and watch her pass away. She was 81, and the village that she lived in, called Dearden, was where this company was, Gazelle. Cut a very, very long story short, but when my Oma passed away, I was looking for something to do, and I literally walked into this factory, asked if they sold these bikes in Australia, and no, they didn't. And you know, next thing you know, I started importing these bikes. And I'm cutting a very long story down to short, just to not to bore you, but for the next 10, 11 years, I poured my absolute heart into that business, you know, selling Dutch bicycles and Dutch bicycle-related products into the Australian market, which, believe me, was not easy, because at the time when I started bringing them in 2008, most bike shops were laughing at me and saying that no one's going to buy bikes like that. And I was one of the first people to bring in electric bikes into Australia, or quality ones, in 2009 or 10. Again, walked into bike shops, they said no one is ever going to buy an electric bike. Why would they? That's cheating. Well, fast forward to 2024, and it's the biggest selling bike probably in all the bike shops. So it goes to show, you know, how things change. But anyway, about 7 years ago, I had an absolute soul-crushing thing happen. You know, Gazelle, after about 10, 11 years, they basically stabbed me in the back. You know, I had a contract with them, and I won't get into the details, but they decided to take my business over and thought that they'll do a much better job than what I could do. And I was very skeptical. I thought, I don't know how you can, because I'm pouring my absolute heart into this, and I knew all the shops. But no, don't worry, Paul, we're taking it over. Literally took my business that I'd grown for 10 years. 4 or 5 years later, Gazelle exited the country. They completely fucked it up, and I'll just put it bluntly, because I had no idea what they were doing here with it, especially the Gazelle bikes. You know, it's a very particular bike in the Australian market, and it was a very bitter pill to swallow. But anyway, when this happened, I had a bit of, you know, by this stage I was about 40, And I was like, well, what am I going to do now? You know, I wasn't left with a completely terrible situation. I had a home in Sydney, an apartment there that I was able to pay off, and I had $100,000 in the bank. That's what I had once this business had finished. And I thought, well, you know what? I've just been working my butt off for the last 10, 11 years. I'm going to get back into windsurfing, because between 30 and 40, I literally had windsurfed maybe 3 times. I was just working. I didn't have time for windsurfing. So I started getting into windsurfing again. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to go buy a drone, because back then, 7 years ago, I remember thinking, well, not many people are using a drone for windsurfing. It was only just starting. And I like photography, and I wasn't seeing the sort of footage that I wanted to see. So anyway, I specifically remember walking into this shop, spending $2,000 on a drone, and walking out and thinking, this is it. This is a new journey for me. Don't know where it'll take me. And it started pouring my heart into that. You know, starting making films down into Geraldton. Actually, the very first one I did wasn't in Geraldton. It was in a place called Southwest Rocks. So I just rocked up one day, and I was on my way back from up north, and filmed a guy there, and that was my very first windsurf film. Anyway, here we are, 2024. I'm now driving to Perth to sleep in my van to fly off to Maui tomorrow, because I have an opportunity to, obviously film this Aloha Classic, and I'm staying in this great house with a very generous local windsurfer there. And it's just amazing, isn't it? When you just put your heart to something and focus your attention in one direction, where it can take you. You know, this hasn't been a lucrative thing for me financially, but it has been incredibly lucrative for me mentally, and has taken me to all sorts of interesting parts of the windsurfing world. And I've had some great experiences, met some awesome people, and my love of windsurfing is as great as ever now. You know, I'm really into it. I even moved to Geraldton, of all places. I mean, I'm from Sydney. Geraldton's on the other side of the country. It's 4,000 kilometres away. So not only, did I just do the filming thing, but I literally completely changed my whole lifestyle, or my living arrangements to fit in with with windsurfing. So anyway, I was just reflecting as I was driving. It's pretty cool. I really want to thank all of you who have subscribed to my channel over the years and joined in for the adventure, because without you, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't. I get the positive comments and all the views that keeps me going, and realizing that there are people out there that enjoy the footage. All right, guys. Well, I am 130 kilometers from Perth. I'm going to sleep in the van, and then in the morning I get up and fly to Sydney, and then I'm staying there one night, and then off to Maui. So fingers crossed, it is going to be a very fruitful trip, and I'll get some very good footage for you guys. All right, well, I made it to Perth Airport. It's now midnight, and I'm going to sleep in the van here tonight. I've got to get into the long-term parking tomorrow morning to catch the flight, but it's not open yet. So the beauty of having a van, as we all know, is you can sleep in the back. And this was my home for a couple of years. I was traveling around in this van. I still got it. It's a beauty. I love it. And while I'm here, I'm just uploading a video I did with Jager the other day. Maybe you've seen it. It's so good filming Jager. He's such an amazing sailor. It's an absolute privilege. So anyway, I'm going to try and get some sleep and get up in the morning. That was night one. Time to get up and get organised to fly to Sydney. When I woke up this morning, I just checked a few messages and things on the phone, and I went onto Instagram and saw some of the great clips that were coming out of Maui. And another clip popped up from Owen Wright, a professional surfer. You know, he's with his dad in a car, talking about how his dad has dementia. I thought it was a really beautiful clip. I'll I'll pin the link to that video below. It's worth a watch. Well, I think I have everything. Passport, drone. They're the two main things. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I'm parked for 3 weeks in this airport car park, and that's it. I think I've got everything.
Remove any face cover on the aircraft, pull down on the red toggles to inflate, and for more air, blow into the mouthpieces.
Broke up the trip in Sydney and stayed the night with family. Now I am waiting for a lift to the metro, so
The next train to arrive on platform 22 goes to Sydenham. First stop, Redburn, then Erskineville.
It's back there.
well, it's been 48 hours since I left Geraldton, and now I'm about to leave for Maui finally. The drone is still intact, so that is good. And now I'm about to board the final plane for Maui. So, well, Oahu and then Maui. But it's happening.
If the cabin pressure changes in flight, an oxygen mask will appear above your seat. Quickly reach for the mask and pull it firmly towards you.
That was an interesting experience. I couldn't film it, but I got off the plane and the customs agent asked me what I was doing here. I said I was a holiday, and then he said, "Well, what's in these bags?" And I said, "Oh, it was a drone." He said, "What are you doing with the drone?" I said, "Well, I'm filming for a couple of days at a windsurf event." And he said, "Open up the bag." So yeah, so I open up the drone box, there's a drone in there. Then I open up my black bag, and that's just full of cables and various things. He's like, "What's all this?" I said, "Well, you kind of need it for filming." Anyway, then he said, "Okay, you got to come with me." So then I go into customs. Cut a very long story short, sitting in an office for 45 minutes, getting grilled. What are you doing here? Where's your letter to say you're filming? Yep, okay, don't really have that. And I missed my connecting flight to Maui, and I've just been standing in that line for an hour to get my new ticket, and I got one now in a couple of hours. So that was a exciting entry to Hawaii. So any tip to anyone coming here, make sure you have everything detailed. What you're doing, letters. It's all good. It's a minor inconvenience. It's beautiful weather here though, look. Very warm. Oh, this is it, the final flight to Maui. After a bit of a delay.
In front of you, we ask that you take a few moments to review this important safety information.
In just a few moments, you'll see your flight attendants beginning with our island beverage service. We have chilled fruit juice or water. We also have beers or wine available for purchase.
Signs indicating our descent. Please make sure your seatbelts are securely fastened. Mahalo.
Cup of coffee. Any single swipe of the card unlocks 70,000 miles. 2 complimentary checked bags every time you book with the card, as well as a one-time 50% off companion travel coupon.
I made it! I made it to Maui.